National pride is at stake, with Bafana Bafana currently taking on Botswana in the COSAFA Cup, but also South Africa taking on a very strong India outfit in the T20 World Cup. Plenty of fans watching the World Cup final. A fan park has been set up at Wanderers Stadium. Newzroom Afrika is well represented there with Yolulwe, Qoshe and Vuyo Macoba at the bull ring. They join us once again live. Gentlemen, as we continue building up to a very big game for the Proteas, are we seeing fans coming into the stadium to witness this historic occasion?
Good afternoon once again to you, Kwena, and to the Newzroom Afrika viewers. Just us getting closer, of course, inside the bull ring. And I think you can see behind us some of the fans that are slowly trickling in. Of course, with that, match supposedly going to be starting soon at 4:30. I think one of the things that I can mention that we talk about in our first crossing was just about the weather, especially on the other side in Barbados. From what we are seeing now and the communication that we are getting is in relation to the weather is holding up. It seems like that toss will be on time. It seems like everything is going to go according to time. And I guess that's the thing with some of the fans on this side. Our weather is also holding up here in Johannesburg, hence some of these fans are trickling in. As you mentioned in your introduction, historic moment for South African cricket. I think many of South Africans, if they remember, just last year, the women's national team was also in a similar position when it came to the ICC Cricket World Cup. And I think this is another moment that is bringing many of these fans here at the Wanderers Stadium and some of the many fan parks around the country. Of course, my colleague Yolulwe Qoshe joins me once again. Yolulwe, we speak about this historic moment for South African cricket, especially the men's Proteas now. But I think when we dive in and look at some of the individuals in this team, we can't hold back but look at Aiden Markram, for example, as a youngster as well, a captain of the side, of the national side, being, I guess, the only captain to be able to lift a title at that junior level. And the question that keeps coming up is he the guy to make sure that we finally, lift this title?
I mean, of course, Vuyo, as you speak about the fans coming in, you hear the music as well. It's loud, it means there's a builder coming in. But speaking about the music, you mentioned a guy like Aiden Markram. He's the one that's going to face the music, should the results not go according to plan. But he's a guy that knows how to navigate those type of situations. As you've mentioned before, he's a guy that has won a Junior World Cup, the only World Cup that South Africa has won in a cricketing setting. He is still the only guy to lift a trophy internationally, but besides that, he's a leader that has won even domestically when you're talking about finals. I've witnessed two SA20 finals where Markram has been able to help his side become champions there, and there's always a conversation and there's always a question posed to him: are you the right guy to then take the Proteas to a first ever World Cup win, whether it's a T20 or a 50 over World Cup? But what I like about him is always measured with his response. He doesn't want to heap all the pressure on himself. He still maintains that it is a team sport, but he does go about his job very well when it comes to leading. He's done so in this current World Cup as well, the way that he's marshaled his troops. He speaks well to the media. He shields the guys from the pressure. He knows how to bear it on his shoulders. And he has been speaking leading up to this final, saying that he is proud of where the guys are right now, and is saying that he's proud of being in a generation that can be able, one, to break the semi-final curse, and now they're also in pole position to be able to be the first generation to win a senior World Cup.
The other player, Yolulwe, is a Kagiso Rabada. Similar stance, similar position with the Aiden Markram in that junior side.
Of course, now you talk about two players that know what it's like to play in those pressure situations. But also those are two players who are prominent in T20 tournaments around the world. They know what it's like to play in the Indian IPL. They know what it's like to play in the SA20. Now, when you come to the international setting, that type of experience is invaluable to this particular team, and the guys will be looking to them to one, Aiden Markram. When it's time to bat, you lead the boys. You give us something to defend when we are bowling. So those two work hand in hand, and maybe it's time for them to come of age and help us in a senior setting as well, for you.
I think another thing comes then to a coach in Rob Walter. I mean, there's not I mean, there's been conversation, but not much of him, or not many are looking on the side of what he's been able to bring into the changing room. And what I'm picking up from him is that calm scene. While over the years, in about the 12 years of senior coaches that have come into the mainstream or head coaching or white ball coaches in the South African side, Rob Walter is the most calm of them, or is the less profile. We've had the likes of the Mark Bouchers and the others who are high profile coaches, and Rob Walter is actually the opposite of what high profile is. So he comes in that lighter mood, brings in that calm in the changing room. I mean, at a schoolboy level, that's when he got his peak. He hasn't had the most extravagance of roles when it comes to even the national setup. The strength and conditioning coach, 2009 until like 2013, goes on, of course, head coach the Titans side, the most respectable side when it comes to domestic cricket, won 3 titles with them, gets that opportunity to, of course, go to New Zealand in head coach position, then comes back. One of then head coach positions. I think that's the other part that many of us are not looking to, just the impact that he's having, in that national side, bringing that calm, but also lessening the pressure that is put on the boys.
Is that then, Vuyo, a perfect balance between a captain that knows his position, that knows his stature, he's always going to get the eyes, he's always going to get the criticism, he's always going to get the praise if he does well, and a coach that just quietly goes about his business? But I think what's good with Rob Walter, he's a man manager. While a lot of other coaches have always focused on what happens between the pitch, between what the batters do, on that pitch, and what the bowlers do in their run-ups, what the team does when they're fielding. I think a Rob Walter looks at an individual and says, how can I improve you? How can I make you feel important? And it's no coincidence that in the 2 World Cups that has been at the helm of South African cricket, the 50-over World Cup, we got to the semi-final, unlucky to lose out against a very experienced Australian side. But he's looked at that and said, listen, let's not let that dampen our spirits. Let's take a bit of continuity from there. Let's refresh the squad as much as we can. But I know with what we have, we can go again. And he's shown that. He's shown that he's got the guys to be more resilient. There's always been that pressure when the Proteas go out to a major cricket tournament. There's a choke, it's tag. None of these guys are talking about that. And in fact, I remember just after the Afghanistan win, Barbados was asked in a post-match conference if he feels this is the group of guys that is going to finally lift a World Cup trophy for South Africa. He didn't mince his words, he says yes. And he says, if we are in this tournament, then why don't we believe that we can win it? And that's a mentality that I think Rob Walter has also instilled in the guys. He's made us believe that, listen, when you put on that Protea jersey, you're representing a lot of people. Similarly to the Springboks who've made us proud, I think these group of Proteas also understand what they are representing, and they are throwing that into their cricket. There have been many moments, Vuyo, where the team has been on the brink, but they found a way to do it, especially those tough wickets in New York. They knew that it's going to get better. They've learned how to navigate this tournament. And it's not easy going from one side of a one country and then you're going to another country where the wicket rapidly changes. It was a batter friendly surface most of the time. It was a bowler surface in New York, better surface now in Barbados. So maybe things are starting to click as our batters also find form. We've got a good team where our batters like Aiden Markram, Reza Hendricks. We've got the likes of David Miller, Tristan Stubbs, all of those guys. We've also got, so they can help us with the bowlers. Rabada can also finish the job with the likes of Marco Jansen and the Tabrai Shamsi. So we've got a very balanced team. We've got a good coach at the helm, and he's got a captain that complements him as well.
I think, Yolulwe, as we close, one of the things that you've seen throughout the matches, especially starting in the run to the final for the Proteas, is the fact that whether we've started bowling and are chasing, and whether the others are able to stand in for the others. So if the batters haven't been able to do well, the bowlers come through for them. And I guess, as we're talking offline, is that, but then in this case, it all goes out the window. Every single player and every single department will need to step up in this game if we want to make sure that we are at the end of today's final. And that's how we look at it, Gwena, from this side. I mean, as the conditions that I mentioned earlier on are looking promising, with the fans also trickling in here at the Wanderers Stadium to support the national side. Messages, of course, have continued to trickle in for the national team on the other side, with the legends giving, their full support to the players. And also, as we mentioned earlier, with the women's side, who have been in a similar position competition like this last season, knowing what this means for this men's national side, have put in their full support. So I guess also support continues from this side of town. We're just, of course, waiting for that start of the match now, and I think all promises is that everything is going to go into plan and everybody is in full support for the national side. Back to you in studio.
Well, just before you guys go, this one is for you, Yolulwe. I mean, you guys have not said much about the Indian side going into this game, and one would say they go into this game because of how strong they have been in the T20. Would you say that they are going into this game as favourites, and who are some of those players to watch from the Indian side?
Well, now, of course, when you look at the pedigree of a team like India, they've been to 7 World Cups. And also they are a team that specializes in this format of the game, the T20s, the 20 over type of cricket. They are the ones that brought the Premier League, the IPL, so they know what it's like. But they've also won World Cups, but not this one. So I think as much as they have experience, Kwena, they will be looking at the likes of Rohit Sharma, the likes of Surya Kumar, the likes of Kuldeep Yadav as well with the ball. Those are some of the key players that will try to help them or propel them to their first ever T20 World Cup. But that's what I like. We're still saying first ever T20 World Cup for them too. Like we've been saying, Vuyo, right? That for South Africa as well. So it's an even playing field, Gwena. But I think with the experience that they have in international cricket, being over the semi-final hurdles for so long, and also being able to have all of these players that have played in IPL finals, they have the edge in terms of the experience. But we too have the talent and some experience to rival them, Gwen.
Well, indeed, it will come down to talent and experience. That game will be starting in about 30 minutes or so. It is the Proteas up against the Indians, and that's going to be a very big game as far as T20 is concerned. There will be a new champion that will be crowned today if the weather and the cricket gods allow. Let's park it there for now as far as sport is concerned. We do have more for you just after this.